So I know you just wrapped up writing this book, Beyond the Two-State Solution. So could you go into a little bit why, why now and what you were hoping to get from writing this book?
Okay. Uh, Basically, I've been a supporter of the two-state solution for a long, long time. Even before that became the established position of the Palestinian, the majority of Palestinians. But the biggest problem with the two-state solution is that both it was a pragmatic, not an ideological solution. It doesn't really challenge either Zionism or Palestinian nationalism in any radical way. It just says you just exercise it in 78% of Palestine, and you exercise your rights in 22% of Palestine, and we won't look into the underlying racism or ethnic superiority or injustice involved. We'll just take 67 as an arbitrary line and do it that way. The problem with it is that when you start settling all over the West Bank, and you now have about 700,000 Jewish settlers in the West Bank, it's no longer possible to reverse that. You're not going to uproot these communities. And they have become an integral part of Israeli society, structures, economy, political life. The few attempts that were made to displace settlers, either from Gaza or from Hebron or Ammona, just were so traumatic to the Israeli political structure that they made it clear they're not going to do them again. Well, if you can't get rid of the settlers, then you really can't have a two-state solution. You can't have a Palestinian state. If you don't have a Palestinian state, why are you still talking two-state solution? If that doesn't work, or if that becomes impossible to implement, if you can no longer create a genuine Palestinian state that's at all a meaningful state, then what do you have? What are you left with? What is the new goal, the new vision? Is it one state? And what's wrong with one state? And how can you implement a one-state solution that addresses the real need of Israeli Jews as well as Palestinian Arabs? And is it possible? Maybe it is possible to arrive at a solution that addresses the needs of both parties without being exclusionary, without saying the other don't exist, without negating or delegitimizing the other. So I present such a vision that addresses the needs of Israeli, Jewish, Zionists, and Palestinian Arab nationalists without negating the other. It takes some creative thinking and creative structuring, and does not require you to uproot 700,000 settlers, but it does require a rethinking of what Zionism is and of what Palestinian nationalism is in a way that is no longer exclusive. So you can't have a Jewish state just for the Jews if half of the population is not Jewish. And you can't have a Palestine Arabiya, an Arab Palestine, if half of your citizens are not Arab. So you must have a state that addresses both sides. And I try to play around with what that would look like, what are the obstacles, and what are the possibilities for creating such a new vision. I don't pretend that this is the solution, but I would like to start a conversation. Now, because most people say, no, only two states. Well, what do you do if that's no longer possible? And other people say, yes, one state. And that means when we become 51%, we can do to them what they are doing to us, namely negate and suppress them. Now, that doesn't work either. You have to have a solution that addresses both parties. And it is possible to have such a solution. And this is what I'm exploring.